I mean, some good stuff coming out of Apocalypse. We'll find out if he can continue that in game number 2. It's already loaded in. Let's go over to Derelict Watcher.
All right, folks, to the northeast position. Who needs to wakey a little bit in this series, I've got to say. In the Blue Trunks playing Zerg, it is Lucky Fo You versus his opponent to the southwest position, who doesn't need luck. In his experience, there's no such thing as luck. He is IVD's Apocalypse.
Sorry, Turtle Biscuit. I'm really sad.
What about how Lucky's playing right now?
Yeah. I really expected for him to put on a good show. I mean, we always talked about it in a group with him, Apocalypse, and Alive. We were really thinking it's going to be up to Apocalypse and Lucky, who's going to get second place. But right away, one of these players will be eliminated. That's what they're playing for. If Apocalypse wins here, Lucky will be eliminated out of Challenger League. That means he has to qualify all over again. It's a very long and tedious process.
I wonder if he goes back to career at that point, because if you're even thrown out of Challenger League, we don't really know how WCS 2014 is going to work. But if you're out of Challenger League in America, what's the point in even trying to get back into it? You might as well just attempt to qualify for career again and just play back then. And Lucky has had great placements in the GSL, and he's definitely a competitor. So perhaps he will do that. I don't know, but there's no way with the current caliber of play we're seeing from Lucky that is going to be able to beat Apocalypse or anybody else in this group. And he needs to get his act together quite quickly if he wants to stay in here.
I agree. Very standard play coming out of these players. Lucky again going for the very fast gas. This is a 230 gas. That means his speed will be out much faster, about 30 seconds faster than what we saw last game. So it could mean, just regular fast metabolic boost. It could mean faster roaches, Total Biscuit.
It could, yes. We'll see. In the meantime, we're talking about how we're disappointed in Lucky, but I feel it's best maybe to focus on how well Apocalypse is currently playing. He had a definite trip up against Betrayus, who really did a good job there and impressed me a lot. But in that series, Apocalypse played not perhaps as good as I would have expected, but now he's playing rock solid. He played against Lucky, who should really be a tougher opponent than Betrayus, and he held very well, considering he had even less than Alive did to hold that kind of build. And he continued to push on to win the game. So let's see if he can do that again, and then that would, of course, leave him facing Betrayus for a rematch for potential spot in Premier next year.
Yeah, Apocalypse is warmed up. He's ready to go. I'm sure he saw the games with Betrayus and Alive, and he's like, okay, he's not nearly as bad as I was thinking. Just going to shake it off and it'll be completely fine. As it stands, regular Reaper pressure coming in here, trying to do damage. Drones are going to have to be made into extractors, into spine crawlers, etc. Spore crawlers. But nothing of value just yet. Maybe pick off a single Zergling. That always helps out. But this is going to be the Pulp build. No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I thought it was going to be a second Reaper. I'm so wrong.
There might still be a second Reaper, because this is kind of the variant of the Pulp build, in that you put down your tech lab and then you build a second Reaper, and then you just follow that up with Stim when you've got 4 Hellions, so that's a possibility. But he might just not, he might just not build that second Reaper.
Yeah, I don't think he will at this point, because he's going for that starport. He will have Banshees out, and this is going to be that Banshee Hellion play that we see time and time again, especially on Derelict Watcher. It's such a good map to do this. Just the openness over here, although he's not switching it just yet, maybe just getting a single Marine before switching over. But this is a great map because the openness, as I was saying before, you can dart into the third base, dart into the natural base, and if you have only queens defending against this, it can get pretty unmanageable very quickly. I mean, even if it's like 4 queens, it's surprising how many Hellions, or how Hellions can overwhelm.
Well, in this case, he's actually building 2 Widow Mines here. I wonder if he'll build any more. And a little bit of a supply block here for Apocalypse. Actually, a fairly severe one, so that's a mistake. Not really sure what he's playing out there. That's going to delay his production significantly. But whatever the case, there's a medevac coming out, and we already have Hellions on the field with one Reaper. So it's almost like he's kind of faking the Pulp build, and then he's saying, oh, well, I'm actually going to drop Widow Mines into the back of the base, which could be particularly devastating, especially if the Queens are away from home defending the front from those Hellions. And then there's Hellions being produced at the back of that as well. And no sign of a swap over. The Starport is going to have to build its own tech lab if it wants to make a Banshee.
I'm very surprised here. And Lucky gets in here at the perfect time, sees the medevac moving on over. Normally it's going to be a Viking, so this is all indicators that it will be some sort of drop play. I mean, that's the only thing it could be. If you go medevacs and try to do some sort of... Oh! Units! Apocalypse!
Yeah, that was unnecessary. Apocalypse loses 2 units for no apparent reason there. It seems like he was very committed to keeping the Queens at the front, which I get, but you didn't have to lose units to do it, because this Widowmine drop is heading in. There is a Spore Crawler on the way, though, so Lucky has already smelled that there's some shenanigans on the way, but that is not going to be done before those Widowmines hit. Will he be able to do good damage?
Goes in here, drops the first 2.
Lucky's not even reacting to this. That was a pretty big hit. 7 workers killed, and he gets out of there without losing a single unit. So that's absolutely fine for Apocalypse. You know, the hit could have been better, but it was really down to luck of the draw there. So, yeah, I mean, nice little bit of starting harassment there from Apocalypse.
That's right. And is it worth it? If you look at the Harvester tab, I would say yes. At this point, 38 to 48. You know, of course, the mules kind of even both them up, and the 3rd Orbital Command Center is on the way right now. But Lucky, I mean, you can't take away from him. He does have a booming economy right now. Yes, he lost a lot of drones. The main base will get replaced pretty fast here, especially with the inject mechanic, and he's starting to get his gases in order. So it's not like Lucky is really far behind from all of that. You can see he actually has the supply lead as it stands, and Apocalypse is in the middle of just transitioning over, and this is a very late transition. Again, we have 10 minutes in, and he's just on one barracks production. This is risky.
It is, and if we actually saw an all-in from Lucky, that would have probably been crippling, but Lucky's actually decided to take a 3rd base in the first time in a while, so that's fine. And it looks like Lucky's just going to play straight up standard from here, which is good. You know, he's got a good drone count, he's got upgrades coming in, he is actually upgrading missile attacks, which is a little odd, and we're seeing roach speed come in as well. So he's definitely committed to that kind of play.
Well, this is a very common thing. You'll get your 1-1 really fast for missile attacks and carapace, and you just go straight up roaches. Roaches. Yeah. You're looking to do something similar to what we saw back in the day of Wings of Liberty with the ZVP, where you just max out as fast as possible. And this attack is, especially for this build that Apocalypse is doing, is pretty much indefensible. I'm even going to go that far in saying you need, like, I kid you not, 8 bunkers to defend something like this. That's how strong it can be, especially for the opening build. But Apocalypse might just say, oh, I'm going to kill it before it even pops out, but Roach is already out. It's going to be tough to do damage here.
Well, roach speed is not done, which makes things a little bit awkward. There's also Hellions on the low ground there, which are killing the Lynx quite nicely. But now Apocalypse knows that's an abnormal number of roaches. The question is, what does he do? Well, he puts down 2 more bunkers at the back there, at least. And he's about to have his combat shield up as well. I imagine he'll want more medevacs because, yeah, hey, Marines with medevacs do trade relatively well against roaches. But this harassment's going to continue. Apocalypse is going to keep just digging his heels in here because he knows this attack only works if everything goes.
That's right. I love what Apocalypse is doing, just doing these small pokes, saying, okay, I'm going to keep poking in every, like, 30 seconds. And what this does is it'll see when the roaches are actually pushing out. If the roaches are pushing out, I have a free win. If not, then, well, I'm buying a little bit more time for increased defenses. So I like what Apocalypse is doing because of that. This should be hitting at latest 12 minutes, but it's already 12:40. And this might not do nearly as much damage. Lucky, I don't know if he's going to be able to break this now because there's just too much here. I mean, he missed his timing for this 1-1 attack because 1-1 is already finished for the Terran player as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get some SCVs. There's no doubt about that. They're pretty much all going to die. They're not getting out of there anytime soon. And he forces a lift on the third. I'm glad that he didn't immediately GG. That's, a little bit rare. But right now we're seeing Apocalypse trying to do a little bit of counter damage. And he's not done that much, frankly. He dropped the third. He dropped the natural. He didn't do much with it. The roaches are now skittering back home. And the creep spread for Lucky is actually phenomenal. It's really a thing of beauty at this stage. He's spreading an awful lot here. And Apocalypse is still pretty far behind. He's taken some economic damage. He's had his mining slowed down, and yeah, you don't want to stay on roaches for that long against your opponent, but it looks like Lucky's going to try and transition. He started melee attack, and he started his Spire as well.
Yeah, right now he has a big bank, though. He needs to make sure to spend that. You can see the Widow Mines over here at the 4th bases, and even the front has been kind of frustrating Lucky. He hasn't been able to really spend everything correctly, because normally he is getting 4th and 5th bases a lot faster with this build as he transitions over to Mutalisks. But I like the transition. Still, I mean, we're in a situation where it's 1-1 Zerglings, maybe 1-2 Zerglings against 2-2 infantry. That's a tough spot to be in. And with those mutas, again, coming out at like 15 minutes, we have a position where those mutas are going to do very negligible damage to the bio. They only can draw units out of position by killing turrets, by killing maybe productions. That's really it.
Yeah, certainly. And there's a nice little cancel on the 4th base. No 4th for you. Immediately rebuilt there by Lucky. Apocalypse is coming right back around again. There's definitely enough roaches to deal with that, though. And the number of roaches on the field is really strange, considering what's coming in. Muta Roach is not what you often see. But the 2-2 is coming in for Lucky. It's going to take a while for him to kind of transition back into the Ling Baneling Muta at 2-2. And I'm a little bit worried for him now, because Apocalypse has got tanks. He's got a lot of tanks. And he is marching forward here.
And he has 2-2 finished. I mean, if he attacks within 90 seconds, that +2 Carapace will not be up. That means the army of a Lucky will just get shredded to pieces. Still doing increased damage with that one drop in the top left. Now finally backing up. And Apocalypse, I'm so impressed with this play so far. This is normally a suicide mission.
All right, here it is. Apocalypse says now is the time. Will there be enough roaches to crush their way through? There's a lot of tanks. They're doing very, very well indeed. Marauders are nicely controlled here as well. Lucky supply absolutely plummets. GG. Well,
that was an amazing display right there.